Welcome to Kanerika's podcast, The Digital Shift. Imagine for a moment that you and all your competitors collectively decide to spend $40 billion on a revolutionary new piece of machinery.
Right. You just haul it in your factories, plug it in, and then you sit back to watch the profits roll in.
Exactly. But then nothing happens. In fact, 95% of that massive investment generates absolutely zero financial return.
Wow. I mean, it sounds hypothetical, but that is the exact reality of enterprise artificial intelligence right now.
It's wild. So today we're doing a deep dive into the staggering failure rate of AI initiatives in the modern business landscape.
Yeah, and our mission here is really to understand why the vast majority of these projects just wither and die on the vine.
And critically, how to actually scale them from a fragile pilot program into full-blown, robust production.
It really is arguably the great paradox of our current technological era. We're watching organizations just scramble to adopt these generative tools at an unprecedented pace.
Oh, completely. Everyone wants it yesterday.
Right. But the translation from, theoretical capability to daily operational practice is incredibly fractured. We really need to set the stakes here to understand the gravity of the situation.
Yeah, let's look at the numbers.
Based on recent research into enterprise adoption, companies have poured an estimated $30 to $40 billion into generative AI over a very short window.
40 billion. That's a staggering amount of money.
It is. And as you mentioned at the start, an astounding 95% of those investments have produced zero measurable financial return.
Wait, I need to stop you there just to make sure we're contextualizing this correctly. 95% producing zero return.
Yes.
Zero. Because if an IT director rolled out, say, a cloud migration or an inventory management system with a 95% failure rate,
Oh, they'd be gone.
they would be immediately terminated. So how are these companies absorbing this massive loss?
Well, they're absorbing it under the banner of research and development, but I can tell you, patience is rapidly wearing thin.
I bet.
And the data gets even more severe when you look at the deployment pipeline. Over 80% of enterprise AI projects fail to ever reach production.
So they just stay in testing forever.
Exactly. They simply remain as isolated pilots. Furthermore, looking ahead, Gartner projects that by 2027, 40% of agentic AI projects will be outright canceled.
Almost half.
Yep.
That means if an organization greenlights two major AI initiatives today, statistics dictate that one of them is basically dead on arrival.
Exactly.
And if we look at those numbers, I think the instinct for most people is just to blame the code, right? We assume the models hallucinate too much or they're just too slow.
Right, we blame the tech.
But the underlying technology usually isn't the problem. If the AI actually works, like if the math and the processing are sound, then something else is breaking the system.
Precisely. The failure point isn't the silicon. It's the human element, and it starts at the very top of the corporate ladder.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Well, what's fascinating here is the sheer misalignment between the executives who authorized the purchase of the AI and the operational staff who are actually expected to integrate it into their daily routines.
So the buyers versus the users.
Exactly. Recent 2025 industry reporting highlighted this jarring 30-point perception gap.
30 points.
Yeah. Right now, 75% of the C-suite believes their AI adoption is successful.
75%, okay.
But when you ask the frontline employees, only 45% agree.
Wow. They aren't even working in the same reality.
Not at all.
The executives are up there looking at a dashboard showing that, 1,000 software licenses were activated, and the employees are down there staring at a tool that disrupts their entire morning.
Exactly. And to make matters worse, 42% of those executives actively admit that AI adoption is causing severe internal tension within their ranks.
Okay, I have to push back on this narrative a bit. Is internal tension really unique to AI?
How do you mean?
Doesn't every single new software initiative require executive alignment and cause friction? Like every time a massive corporation rolls out a new customer relationship management tool or they overhaul their HR portal, employees complain.
Oh, universally, yes.
Right. So why is rolling out an AI agent any different from a standard, albeit really annoying IT upgrade?
It's a very common assumption to equate the two, but AI is fundamentally different because it triggers an existential dread that a CRM just does not.
Existential dread, that's a strong phrase.
But it's true. When you roll out a new CRM, the employee thinks, ugh, I have to learn this annoying new interface, but my role is secure.
Right. It's just a new place to type the same data.
Exactly. But when you roll out an AI agent capable of drafting emails, analyzing data, resolving tickets, the employee thinks, this machine is specifically designed to eliminate my headcount.
Oh, yeah, that's a very different reaction. So they actively sabotage the deployment.
Well, sabotage is a strong word, but they absolutely engage in self-preservation.
Yeah, so
They hoard their workflows. If you ask an employee how long a task takes, to help train the AI, they will inflate a 10-minute task to an hour.
oh, to make themselves look indispensable.
Right. They'll insist their work requires this level of human nuance that a machine could never grasp. And the solution to this resistance isn't just like a cheerful company-wide memo from the CEO
Mm-hmm.
about the future of work.
Yeah, a memo never save a job.
Exactly. Leadership has to present concrete, indisputable business cases. For example, explicitly showing that the AI is being deployed to reduce a tedious data entry task from 7 minutes down to 2 minutes.
Framing it as a helper, not a replacement.
Right. Deliberately freeing the team to handle higher-level strategy. Once that case is made, leadership has to mandate cooperation downward. And crucially, and this is where the organizational structure often fails, the technology teams building the AI must remain entirely neutral.
Wait, how does a developer or a tech lead remain neutral? I mean, they report to the same executives who are trying to cut costs?
Neutrality in this context means establishing a strict boundary regarding corporate politics.
Okay.
If a frontline employee asks the tech team, hey, will this model reduce our departmental headcount? The developers must be trained to direct that question strictly back to HR and management.
Ah, I see. Don't engage with the politics.
Right. If the tech team attempts to reassure the employee, or conversely, if they hint at layoffs, they instantly lose the trust of the frontline staff.
And if they lose that trust,
Then the developers cannot accurately map the workflows they actually need to automate.
that structural boundary makes a ton of sense. You have to clear the organizational fear first so the developers can actually see what the employees are doing.
Exactly.
But once the politics are handled, the technical team sits down to build. Where does the massive financial burn happen at this stage? Because we see this exact scenario all the time in our work at Kanerika.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
Yeah, the data clearly shows that 62% of enterprises exploring AI lack a clear starting point, and they just deeply struggle with fragmented, disjointed workflows.
Yes, and this is exactly where IT teams make their most expensive mistake. We call it the one extra click fatal flaw.
The one extra click flaw, let me see if I can frame this. Building a standalone AI dashboard is essentially like putting a state-of-the-art refrigerator in the middle of your living room.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Right. Technically, the engineering is flawless. It keeps the food perfectly cold. But the sheer friction of getting off the couch, walking out of the kitchen, and going all the way to the living room just to grab some butter, it means people are just going to order takeout instead.
That is a brilliant way to put it.
If the AI isn't located exactly where the work is already happening, it might as well not exist.
That analogy maps perfectly to the reality of enterprise software. Standalone AI applications are virtually doomed to fail, no matter how powerful the underlying model is.
Do we have an example of this happening in the real world?
We do. There is a customer support story in the research that illustrates the mechanics of this beautifully. A global services company brought in a highly skilled tech team to build an AI agent. The goal was brilliant: consolidate user profiles, historical project data, and complex payment histories for their support associates into one clean summary.
Oh, that's a massive time saver. Instead of an associate keeping 5 different browser windows open while a customer is, yelling on the phone, the AI reads it all instantly.
Precisely. So the tech team built the model, and it worked flawlessly in testing.
Yeah.
But they deployed it as a standalone application. It lived in its own dedicated browser tab.
Oh, no.
Yeah. To utilize the tool, a support associate had to leave their primary ticketing system, open the AI tab, wait for the interface to load, manually copy the customer's ID number, and paste it into the search bar.
So they introduced friction to a process that was explicitly supposed to eliminate friction. I am assuming the usage metrics flatlined immediately.
Usage was virtually non-existent.
Unbelievable.
The associates just reverted to their old manual method of hunting through 5 screens because they fundamentally rejected the cognitive load of that one extra click.
They just didn't have time to toggle between systems while on a live call.
Exactly. So the development team was forced to make a pivotal architectural shift. They scrapped the standalone tab entirely and rebuilt the integration using an API.
Wait, For those of us not writing code every day, how does an API actually solve the friction problem?
Good question.
Because doesn't embedding a really heavy AI model directly into an older legacy customer portal risk crashing the entire system? IT departments are usually terrified of bolting new tech onto old databases.
That is exactly why they used an API, which stands for Application Programming Interface. Think of an API as a highly trained courier that runs between two separate buildings.
Okay.
The heavy, complex AI model still lives safely on its own modern server. It doesn't drag down the legacy system at all.
Oh, so it's offsite, basically.
Right. The API simply listens for a specific event.
Yeah.
In this case, the exact moment a support ticket is created in the old system.
And then what?
When the ticket opens, the API grabs the customer ID, runs it over to the AI server, the AI does all the heavy data processing, and then the API carries just the lightweight text summary back to the legacy system.
Oh, wow. So the refrigerator was moved seamlessly back into the kitchen.
Exactly. They embedded the output directly inside a small sidebar in the existing customer portal.
That's brilliant.
By the time the associate opened the ticket, the AI's analysis was already waiting for them. No new tabs, no new interface to learn. Adoption skyrocketed overnight.
So the absolute rule of enterprise deployment is that you must embed AI into existing workflows, never alongside them.
100%.
If I'm tracking the logic here, integrating the AI directly into the workflow via an API means the system has to know exactly what it's looking at, right? You have to tell the AI the exact parameters of the workflow.
Yes, you do.
And forcing a sprawling, chaotic organization to actually define those strict instructions exposes the next major hurdle. But interestingly, based on the data, this hurdle actually turns out to be a massive hidden benefit.
You're referring to process standardization.
Yeah. So does the AI essentially act like a mirror, reflecting just how messy the human process actually is? Like, is it forcing the humans to finally write down the rules they should have been following all along?
It acts exactly like a relentless auditor. And sometimes it reflects a deeply flawed operational reality.
I can imagine.
Before you can automate a process, you have to codify its rules into logic that a machine can execute. Let me share a compelling case study regarding rate negotiations.
Let's hear it.
There was an enterprise support team responsible for handling customer requests for subscription rate increases.
Yeah.
Before AI was introduced, the human associates were approving these financial increases based almost entirely on gut feeling.
Gut feeling. Let's translate that in a call center environment.
Sure.
That usually means if the caller was sufficiently angry, loud, or threatening to cancel, they received a better financial rate regardless of their actual account history.
That is exactly what was happening. Approvals were based on caller pressure and just the individual associate's mood or exhaustion level that day.
Right.
It led to wildly inconsistent, biased, and financially unsustainable outcomes for the company. But an algorithmic AI agent cannot operate on vibes.
Right. It doesn't feel intimidated by a loud customer.
Exactly.
So how do you actually codify a vibe? What are the mechanics of taking a highly subjective human reaction and making it machine readable?
You have to build a rigid decision tree. To build the AI agent, the company's leadership was forced to sit in a room and actually define their informal rules.
Oh, they actually had to make hard choices.
Yes, they had to mathematically answer questions they had previously avoided. What is the absolute maximum percentage limit for an increase?
Right.
What specific data points, like the length of the customer's tenure or their past payment delays, must be weighted heavily? That are the non-negotiable conditions for a rejection.
So the very act of preparing the environment for the AI is what actually fixed the broken business practice. The AI was just the catalyst.
That is the immense hidden value of AI deployment. You have to fix bad processes before you can automate them. Deloitte's analysis confirms this dynamic completely.
Which makes sense.
True organizational value does not come from the technology itself. It comes from redesigning operations. If you just layer an incredibly fast, intelligent bot over a fundamentally bad habit, you don't achieve efficiency.
You simply execute bad habits at lightning speed.
Exactly.
Okay, so you've navigated the internal politics, you've embedded the tool seamlessly via an ATI to eliminate friction, and you've ruthlessly standardized your messy processes into clear decision trees.
Check, check, and check.
The temptation for any executive at this point is to hit the giant green launch button. You know, turn it on for every customer across every department all at once to get immediate return on that massive investment.
Huge temptation.
But I'm guessing doing a massive company-wide launch is exactly how you break the entire organization.
A big bang launch is almost universally a disaster. The system gets overwhelmed, the edge cases break the rules, and employee trust drops to zero.
So what's the alternative?
The only effective antidote to that chaos is a staged deployment.
A stage deployment. It kind of reminds me of teaching a teenager how to drive a car.
Oh, how so?
Well, first, they just sit in the passenger seat and watch you navigate the roads, observing the rules.
Right.
Then the dynamic shifts. They drive the car while you sit right next to them in the passenger seat, ready to grab the wheel and guiding their real-time decisions.
Makes sense.
Finally, only when they've proven their consistency, you hand over the keys and let them drive alone. You don't just toss them the keys on their 16th birthday and tell them to merge onto the interstate.
That analogy maps elegantly to the 3 distinct phases of successful AI deployment.
Walk me through them.
Phase 1 is the assistive phase. In this stage, the AI agent is purely gathering and consolidating data. It's taking 10 minutes of manual system searching and generating a 2-minute text summary.
So the human operator still makes every single decision.
Precisely.
This phase works because it carries zero existential threat. The AI is just a highly efficient librarian fetching books.
Exactly. It gets high buy-in because it strictly makes the employee's life easier. Once trust is established there, you transition to phase 2, the intelligent phase.
Okay, what changes here?
Now, the AI agent analyzes that consolidated data against those newly codified business rules we just discussed, and it actively recommends a specific action. But, and this is the critical friction point, the human must review and explicitly approve the recommendation before it executes.
So the teenager's driving, but you are hovering over the emergency brake.
Exactly.
Why is there friction in phase 2?
Because the human has to learn to trust the machine's logic. If the AI recommends rejecting a rate increase, the human associate has to suppress their old instinct to just give in to the angry customer.
Right, they have to let the rules work.
The human acts as the final safeguard, ensuring the codified rules actually hold up in the real world. Finally, once the success rate of phase 2 nears perfection, you reach phase 3, the autonomous phase.
Handing over the keys.
Yes, but only for strict, highly predictable workflows.
Give me an example.
For instance, if a customer is simply checking their payment status or resetting a password, the agent reads the system and replies end-to-end without any human involvement.
And what about the messy stuff?
Highly complex tasks, like an angry executive escalation, or a highly nuanced enterprise contract negotiation, those workflows stay permanently locked at phase 2. The human never leaves the loop.
So the secret is that you don't actually need 100% of your operations to be fully automated to extract massive financial value.
Not at all.
But a staged deployment only works if you point the AI at the correct problems from day one. To stick with our driving metaphor, you can't effectively teach that teenager to drive by putting them on a complex, icy mountain road during a snowstorm.
Which raises the most critical strategic question for leadership. How do you find the operational bullseye? What is the right target for that initial pilot program?
Well, let me play devil's advocate here, because if I am a CEO who just spent millions on AI, I want to see fireworks.
Of course you do.
Shouldn't we tackle our most complex, highest-level intellectual problems first? Like, really prove to the board that this AI investment was worth it?
It is a deeply tempting thought, and it is the exact trap that causes the 80% failure rate we discussed at the beginning.
Really?
Attempting to automate highly subjective, ambiguous workflows first is a guaranteed recipe for failure. The AI will inevitably stumble on the human nuance, the employees will point to the errors as proofs the tech is useless, and the board will pull the funding before you ever reach phase 2.
Wow. Okay. So what's the alternative?
Instead, you must scan your organization for 2 strict criteria: high volume and clear rules.
You're looking for workflows that are incredibly boring, but highly repetitive.
Exactly. Let me give you 2 powerful examples from the research that demonstrate why this specific targeting works. First, consider Net Promoter Score, or NPS, feedback.
Sure, customer surveys.
Right. A major retail company realized that 95% of their inbound customer comments were simple statements like, "The experience was great," or "Thanks for the fast shipping."
Well, those are nice sentiments for marketing to read, but they are totally unactionable for a support team. There is nothing to fix.
Right. But their legacy CRM system was automatically generating a formal support ticket for every single one of those comments.
Oh, no. So the human team was spending hours every day just opening and closing tickets that required no action.
Exactly. So they deployed a simple classification engine to filter the inbound text.
Wait, explain the mechanism of a classification engine. How does a piece of software actually know that a comment is unactionable?
It uses natural language processing to weigh the intent of the sentence. The engine is trained to look for actionable verbs or complaint markers, words like broken, missing, or refund.
Got it.
If a sentence only contains passive adjectives like great or fast, the engine mathematically scores it as low priority and archives it.
And what was the result?
That one simple algorithmic move reduced their human ticket volume by 95% immediately.
Massive operational impact, minimal technical complexity. The AI didn't solve a complex problem, it just took out the trash.
Precisely. The second example involves compliance screening. In a heavily regulated financial services environment, an organization had a manual screening process that took human analysts 20 minutes per client file.
20 minutes per file is a long time.
Because the process was so slow and labor-intensive, they were only actually screening about 33% of their total members.
Leaving 67% of their members entirely unscreened. In a financial services environment, that is a massive reputational and legal ticking time bomb.
It was a completely unacceptable risk.
Yeah.
But the rules for screening were incredibly clear and rigid. It was just a matter of cross-referencing data.
A perfect target.
Yes. By targeting this specific rule-heavy process, they deployed an embedded AI agent to assist the analysts. It reduced the manual screening time from 20 minutes down to under 5 minutes per file, and within weeks, they achieved 100% regulatory coverage.
That is how you prove undeniable value to a board of directors. Delivering massive, quantifiable wins like that is exactly how you bridge the gap from a fragile pilot program to permanent production.
It is entirely about building systemic strategic momentum. You align the leadership and neutralize the politics.
Yeah.
You embed the tool via APIs to eliminate workflow friction.
Yeah.
You brutally standardize the broken processes. You stage the rollout in phases to build human trust. And you point the technology exclusively at high-volume, rule-based targets.
We see this reality play out constantly. As we've seen across more than 200 implementations here at Kanerika, this architecture isn't just theory. Whether we at Kanerika are operating as a Microsoft solutions partner for data and AI or working hand-in-hand as a certified Databricks partner, we've learned that success isn't just about deploying proprietary agents, even incredibly powerful ones like our Carl or DocGPT.
It goes so much deeper than the agent itself.
Right. It's fundamentally about adhering strictly to this phased integration-first approach.
And for organizations that are looking for this transformation, without stepping on the incredibly expensive landmines we've outlined today, we always recommend starting with one of Kanerika's AI maturity assessments.
It's the best first step.
It is undeniably the most effective way to find your perfect operational starting point before you authorize your team to write a single line of code.
We at Kanerika live and breathe this transition from pilot to production. And the human element, how we react to, build around, and ultimately trust these systems, is always the ultimate deciding factor in whether a project succeeds or fails.
It always comes back to the people.
It does. Which brings us to our final thought. I want to leave you with a lingering question. If an AI agent were to sit over your shoulder right now and map out your daily workflow, what chaotic, undocumented gut-feeling process would it expose that you'd have to codify?
Oh, that's a terrifying thought for a lot of people.
It really is.
Yeah.
And building on that, if AI eventually codifies and successfully automates all of our high-volume, routine, rule-based tasks, what exactly happens to the entry-level jobs?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. If the AI is doing all the beginner work, how on earth do we train the managers and executives of tomorrow?
It's a profound and incredibly urgent structural question for every industry moving forward.
Thank you for joining us on The Digital Shift. Keep questioning the data, keep refining those processes, and we will see you next time.